guys, welcome to another edition of Space Stocks News here. I'm Dave, and we're going to go over all the latest news and developments from the big space companies that are publicly traded. There's a lot of changes going on, very quick moving industry, and this is where you can keep track of it all in one place. Before we dive into all the new updates though, please do hit like and subscribe down below to help out the channel. There's also a link to the Discord down there if you'd like to join us discussing space stocks and investing in general. Also, my Twitter is down in the description. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the space stock news. So, starting off with Rocket Lab, as always, it's my favorite company in the space industry. There's been a lot of developments over the past couple weeks to dive into. First of all, they successfully completed their first test fire of a refurbished Rutherford engine earlier this week at the company's engine test facility. Rocket Lab conducted the full duration, full thrust test fire of the refurbished Rutherford engine earlier this week at the company's engine test facility. The engine was previously successfully launched to space and returned to Earth again during Rocket Lab's recent recovery mission, There and Back Again, launched on May 2nd, 2022. The mission was the first time Rocket Lab attempted a mid-air capture of Electron's first stage, using parachutes on the rocket to slow its descent from space before a helicopter plucked the rocket from the sky as it approached Earth's surface. The Electron stage was ultimately released for a soft ocean splashdown before it was collected by a recovery vessel and returned to Rocket Lab's production complex. The refurbished Rutherford engine passed all the same rigorous acceptance tests Rocket Lab performs for every new engine, including 200 seconds of engine fire and multiple restarts. Data from the test fire shows the engine produced full thrust of 21 kilonewtons within 1,000 milliseconds of ignition and performed this to the same standard of a newly built Rutherford engine. Being able to refly Electron with minimal refurbishment is the ultimate goal, and so the fact that the recovered components on this engine performed on the test stand with minimal rework is further validation that we're on the right path, said CEO Peter Beck. If we can achieve this high level of performance from engine components recovered from the ocean, then I'm optimistic and incredibly excited about what we can do when we bring back dry engines under a helicopter next time. So great news for Electron's reusability efforts and another step forward into making the Electron cheaper and more reliable. Continuing on with Rocket Lab, they recently announced an agreement with US Transcom to explore using Neutron and Electron rockets to deliver cargo point-to-point around the world. The agreement will also see Rocket Lab explore using Photon spacecraft to establish on-orbit cargo deposits and deliver re-entry capability. Now, I know a lot of people made a really big deal about this announcement, and every little bit is good news for sure. I am a Rocket Lab investor and fan, but I want to kind of throw a little bit of water on this fire here of excitement. We looked into a little bit about what a CRADA is, what this agreement is. And under these agreements, no funds may be provided by the federal laboratory to the non-federal party. So in this scenario of exploring point-to-point Electron and Neutron missions, the company Rocket Lab will have to fund the exploration. So to my mind, while this may lead to new contracts and business in the future, right now it's not bringing in any new revenue and therefore isn't a huge deal. Although it is nice to hear that the US government is interested in their vehicles for this type of mission. Next up, Rocket Lab has announced a new member of their board of directors. Dr. Edward Frank has been welcomed to the board. He joins Rocket Lab's board following more than 35 years of leadership in innovation technology companies, including serving at Apple from 2009 to 2013 as vice president of Macintosh Hardware Systems Engineering. Dr. Frank also served as corporate vice president, research and development of Broadcom Corporation. Peter Beck was quoted as saying, "Ed is a fantastic addition to the Rocket Lab board, bringing decades of deep tech experience to our team. A well-respected and strategic business leader, Ed has built companies and successfully shepherded them through rapid growth and delivered long-term success." We look forward to working together and leveraging Ed's insights, as well as we continue to strengthen our position as a market leader in end-to-end space solutions. So welcome, Ed, to the Rocket Lab team. Also, we've announced the 30th mission for Rocket Lab's Electron rocket. Preparations are underway with Cinespective in the LC-1 clean room to launch their Strix satellite into orbit on Electron next week. The launch window opens on September 14th, UTC 2030. There was also an analyst upgrade this week. Cowen upgraded Rocket Lab on Wednesday from market perform to outperform and raised its price target to $8 from $6.50. Cowen said, "We're upgrading Rocket Lab for key execution milestones and improved competitive position and benefits from Russian sanctions." I think we all know that with the Russia-Ukraine situation and the sanctions on Russia, they're no longer launching much commercial payloads on their Soyuz spacecraft, leaving a bit of a hole in the market that it's looking likely the Neutron should be able to fill. Next up, we have Astra. They've had a tough time recently, and those issues continue as the share price is now down around 75 cents. This continues to be an issue for potential delisting concerns, as if they stay below the $1 level for more than 180 days, they're at risk of being delisted. They may have to look into doing some kind of a reverse split in order to bring their share price back up. So definitely a difficult situation for Astra investors right now. Also, the state of Tennessee Treasury Department announced that they had acquired a new stake in shares of Astra Space during the first quarter, according to the company's most recent 13F filing with the SEC. The firm acquired 336,000 shares of the Astra stock, valued at approximately $1,300,000. So there's a bit of a vote of confidence from the state of Tennessee Treasury Department, although this was back in Q1, so their investment has not performed very well to date. Also, Astra said on Monday it was selected by Airbus OneWeb satellites to supply the Astra spacecraft engine for integration into Aero commercial small satellites made by Airbus OneWeb. Airbus OneWeb is a joint venture between Airbus and OneWeb. The joint venture manufactures satellites for the OneWeb commercial constellation and Airbus customers in Florida, as well as for Airbus U.S. space defense in support of government programs. Speaking of OneWeb, they recently took a $229 million charge this year linked to the termination of their Soyuz launch contract, with dozens of satellites stranded in Kazakhstan after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In an annual financial report released by the company last month, the company included an impairment charge of $229.2 million in its 2022 fiscal year. That said, was linked to the suspension of launches of satellites on Soyuz rockets from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, including one launch called off just before its launch in March. OneWeb was about to launch 36 of its satellites on a Soyuz in March when the Russian government put severe conditions on the launch, including requiring the British government to divest its stake in the company. The board of OneWeb declined to agree to those conditions and announced it would suspend all launches from the Cosmodrome. The satellites were placed in storage after the launch and remain in Kazakhstan. Next, a little bit of sad news from Masten. Some people might know it as the little space company that could. Well, apparently it could no longer, as it has gone out of business. According to bankruptcy court filings, Masten Space Systems held an auction yesterday for its assets. Astrobiotic, which had an agreement to acquire substantially all the assets, had the high bid at around $4.5 million. A court hearing is scheduled for tomorrow to approve the auction results. So sad to see Masten close their doors, but it's just another lesson of how difficult the space industry can be, and a warning to all investors out there to do a lot of research and be careful when you're investing in this industry. Now on to AST SpaceMobile. ASTS's Blue Walker 3 test satellite is set to launch on a Falcon 9 rocket on September 10th. Once in low Earth orbit and following initial in-orbit testing and configuration, AST SpaceMobile plans to conduct BW3 direct-to-cell phone testing on every inhabited continent in coordination with mobile network operators. Mobile network operators in the mission's test plans include Vodafone, Rakuten Mobile, and Orange, among others, using cell phone handsets from major global manufacturers. Along with the launch of BW3, AST Mobile continues to build out its manufacturing capabilities to reach its goal of building 6 next-generation Bluebird satellites per month. The company intends to launch a low Earth orbit constellation of Bluebirds that would provide cellular broadband from space across the globe, on land, at sea, and in the air. Also affecting ASTS at Apple's Investor Day today, there was an announcement of emergency service via satellite for the new iPhone 14. AST's competitor Globestar announced an agreement with Apple to provide satellite services for phones to send messages when they have no cell signal. Huawei also recently announced the Mate 50 and Mate 50 Pro will be able to send short texts and utilize navigation thanks to China's global Beidou satellite network, allowing for communication in areas without cellular signal. Combine this news with the recent Starlink T-Mobile announcement, and things in the phone-to-satellite connectivity space seem to be really heating up lately. Finally, not a big impact to most space stocks, but NASA's SLS has been scrubbed again for the second time. This mission is supposed to send their Orion capsule to the moon, and it is extremely disappointing to see that it has been unable to launch thus far. NASA says they will attempt to replace the seal on the LH2 line that led to the SLS scrub on Saturday while the vehicle is still at the pad. However, the SLS may still roll back to the vehicle assembly building for other work and would currently have to do so to reset its flight termination system. All this moving back and forth between the pad and the vehicle assembly building is not great, as it can put additional stresses on the vehicle. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for viewing, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe down below. I'll see you next time. Bye.